Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's already 10:05. We shall start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to LuxTag's webinar, Product Citizenship, Empower Your Product to Protect and Promote Your Business. Thank you all for taking the time and joining us today. I am Iman, Marketing Executive at LuxTag, and I'll be the moderator for today. Before I introduce our amazing speakers, I just want you to know that a recording of this webinar will be provided to you along with the slide deck. And also that we are running a live Q&A. So please, if you have any question during this presentation, leave it in the discussion box and we will run through it at the end. So without further ado, let me introduce our speakers. We have Rene Bernard, co-founder and CEO of LuxTag. He is also the founding president of Access Blockchain Association in Malaysia. We have Jeff McDonald, co-founder and CBO of LuxTag, co-founder of NEM Foundation and brand ambassador at NEM. So Rene, I'll give you the word.
Yes, good morning, everybody, and greetings from sunny Malaysia. So today we want to show you this new concept of a product citizenship, whereby a product can become a citizen of your brand. It's a concept we will explain in the following minutes. This one then links towards smart packaging, how the packaging of an item of your products can become smart so that it can actually work for you while it is sitting in shelves, even of supermarkets. Then we'll talk about blockchain, about tagging options, and come towards how to use it, how to DIY it. And the last point will be where we point out a possibility how to use one of our solutions to wrap the DIY solutions into one easy-to-use software suite. I think I pass the microphone to Jeff to continue from here onwards. Jeff, here you are.
Yes. Hi. Today we're going to talk about, among other things, product citizenship. And one of the great things about product citizenship is you can start to think about, and we'll talk more about this, about as products evolve, they can get to be their own independent thing and what they are. Rene, do you want to mention just a little bit more about product citizenship?
Well, yes, we can do that. This term actually is something which we came up with, proudly came up with here at LuxTag. And we want to promote this principle, the concept of having your products belonging under you, under your brand. So the products become a little citizen. And citizens, what do they have? They have a citizenship ID card or a passport. And that is what we would like to bring forward, the concept, the idea to you, to have these little citizens out there in the world still stay in contact with the mothership, with you, with as a brand, as a manufacturer. That is the concept behind here. And this product citizenship can be gained when a product is produced and it meets the requirements set by you and then confirmed by a quality check department. So it's out in the world and swims on its own. That's about it.
Great. Thank you. Can we go back a slide? Okay, thank you. So basically, I want to talk a little bit about the history of product evolution and what products have been doing. So a long time ago, products basically were very simple with their packaging. And in fact, the idea of packaging was really just to protect the product. You would have a very basic item with a very basic package around it. And then around, probably the 1950s, 1960s, they started to actually produce where something was made by the country. I know I've bought some very old things, and if it's very old, you never know what country it was made in because that's never marked. And then we started to add more information, like food items, for instance. They would start to put the ingredients. That isn't something that was always done before in the past. And then in 1974, they started to add something very interesting. They started to add barcodes. Now, these barcodes were great because you could start to scan the item. And now the package wasn't just about protecting the item, but it was about information related to that item. It basically included inventory. When the checkout person would scan it, the inventories would automatically update. And around this time, packages became more of just a label of what it was, and then became something about the label became marketing. They used better fonts, they used better colors, they used nice little logos and gimmicks and mascots on the packages. And so you could see that products packaging was starting to evolve. And then by 2018, before 1994, the internet was starting to be born. And then we started to have things like barcodes or QR codes after 1994. And then by 2018, we really had the internet in full swing. Barcodes had gained a lot of use, and packages had evolved too. Now the QR code had been replaced or had updated the barcode, because now the QR code could allow the consumer to interact with the owner or the maker of the product. And basically that means that the owner of the QR code, or the user, could scan the QR code and now interact with the company. There could be a URL in there. There could be lots of information. You could put a website in plain text. You could put a phone number and email on there. And now packaging was a way not just to protect or market, but also gain interaction with the consumer. And so what happened since then? Well, now in 2018 and beyond, we have blockchain. And it's really interesting the things that blockchain can do, because blockchain is allowing us to create not just a QR code for every package, but a link so that each individual item gets an identity. This goes back to the citizenship, like what Rene was saying. Now each package, each item is its own little thing, and the blockchain helps connect the company to the person to the product in that way. Now, the packaging, as I was saying, started off as a way to protect, and then now it's promote. We call this smart packaging, right? So next, I want to show you the original versus fake. So I have a story I want to tell. There's a mask, and I bought a mask when coronavirus started, and I bought it from a website that I really trusted. I love this website. I've been shopping there for almost 10 years. I bought a lot of great things from it, not going to say the name, but this website, I bought some masks that I thought were from a really good brand, and I thought that they were FDA certified, right? For some reason, my mouse keeps on moving around. It would be better if the mouse didn't move around. Yeah, anyway. Okay, when we talk about the mask, I had a really hard time, because when I bought this mask, I thought I was getting a genuine product. I loved it, I was using it. And then what happened eventually is I went to go buy more masks, and the website said that the masks that I previously bought were no longer for sale, and worse, that they were fake, that I'd been sold counterfeit masks, and that the masks I was buying were not FDA approved. So this was a big problem, because the package that I was buying just wasn't real. Okay. So when we talk about packaging, there's some basic problems. If I'm buying a package and the manufacturer of the package didn't spend a lot of time doing brand citizenship, didn't spend a lot of time making their package interactive, then what are they missing out on? Well, first of all, in my case with the mask, the consumer gets counterfeit products. If the entrepreneur or the small business or the large business spends time making their packages good, they get more customer engagement, they prevent a lot of these problems that I had, right? What happens when somebody like me buys a counterfeit mask? Well, first of all, I no longer trust the website that I had used for 10 years. Second of all, the products that I bought, I no longer trust. And the brand that I thought I was buying as a trusted brand, no longer can trust, because I know that that company didn't spend enough time to make sure that their packaging was done in a way that it had enough anti-counterfeit protection on it. And this is a problem, because my health was at risk. I have a good reason to doubt the company that sold it to me. I have a good reason to doubt the company that I thought was making it but didn't make it. And so I think that if somebody really cares about their brand, if they take a lot of pride, then this is something that they're going to be very interested in. So I think that one thing that we can see is that packages are evolving. They're going from this basic package to having some information about ingredients or where it came from, to maybe a link about a website or a barcode so that things could be updated. And now we're getting to this idea that we're presenting here about product citizenship, where each and every product, each and every package gets its own identity. This is a big upgrade, and it might seem like something that we don't necessarily need or think is all that important at first, but let me stop for a moment and mention, what if you were to go into a store today and you were to buy a package and it just said the name on the outside of the box or the can, like soup, and you turned it around and it didn't say where it was made, didn't say when it was made, didn't say what the ingredients were, you would be very doubtful of that product, or I would personally, right? So this is where we're going. Once consumers get used to more information, it's something that they demand. It's something that they want. It's something that they have to have. And once consumers get used to the idea of, I'm going to wave my phone over this product and not just find out something in general about that product, but about that specific package, about that specific item, about the company, being able to connect with them, that's a big deal. And once people get used to that, they're going to demand it in the future. Yes. And so what is the next kind of level, or the next way that we're doing that? Well, we are combining the idea of QR codes or NFC tags and blockchain. And like I said, I'll go into it more in a second, but the blockchain is just this new fascinating technology. I'm sure people have heard about Bitcoin. I'm sure people have heard about NFTs. They're making a lot of big news. A lot of other great things are happening with blockchain. And again, by combining QR codes with NFC tags, we can make each item linked on the blockchain for this great and new kind of shopping user experience, consumer engagement, right? So let's talk just a little bit more about that. In the blockchain, I'm going to click on this slide. Okay, so the blockchain basically has this idea of blocks. And I don't know if blocks is the best word. I like to think of it more as like pages in a book. But the really great thing is we're using cryptography. We're using a decentralized network of servers, thousands or tens of thousands of servers all over the world that are basically adding these blocks or these pages to the blockchain or to the ledger about new information. And it's this idea, this kind of revolution idea of a blockchain that's going to allow us to take product packaging and product citizenship to the next level. And I want to say, it's not just that we're going to be taking it to the next level. We've already taken it to the next level. And I'll give some examples about that in just a minute. So when we talk about this blockchain, it was originally made for financial purposes. But the fascinating thing is now you can use it for lots of other purposes other than just financial. And again, one of the key things is this timestamp idea of a blockchain, meaning anytime you put information on a blockchain, it gets a timestamp. And one of the really beautiful things about that timestamp is if you have blocks that are in the middle of the chain and all of that all those transactions or information in the middle of the chain have those timestamps, the security model of the blockchain means you cannot just go and take out information and change a little bit in the middle. Because of the cryptography and because of the blocks and the timestamp, if you try to change even one small piece of information in the middle of the change, it changes all the information that comes after it. So it's a very secure model, and it allows us to do some things that we've never done before. There's some other benefits of the blockchain. We have improved traceability. It allows a new level of tracking and tracing data and items that have never been done before, both publicly and privately. There's a lot of ways that you can set this up, and it's just fundamentally more secure. I want to talk about why it's more secure just for a second. I talked about, there's thousands or tens of thousands of servers on the internet, and these servers basically are securing all the data. And it seems, well, wouldn't it be more expensive to secure 10,000 copies instead of one copy? Why don't we just put all the information in one company's database, one company's server? That's got to be cheaper. Well, it's not. It's not, because you need to hire multiple engineers to manage that database and manage that server instead of just letting the cloud handle it automatically. And not only do you need to hire multiple engineers to manage that database, you need to have software firewalls. You need to have hardware firewalls. You need to hire companies like Cloudflare or other companies, antivirus and security companies, to monitor your server for you. And it has to be monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's very expensive for companies, especially small companies, to very securely secure all this information. And so allowing the blockchain, which fundamentally has the security model built into it, is wonderful. And there's another thing about it. What if a hacker decides to hack my server for my company, just my one server, right? Well, they can take that down. But if I'm on a private database, it's hard for me to spin that up because I can no longer access that data. But if it's on the blockchain and I'm using my server on Amazon, I can just make another blockchain server on Azure or another cloud host service provider. And as quickly as the hackers knock them down, I can make new ones come up anonymously on different cloud servers all over the world. And if the hacker tries to take down more than just mine, there's literally thousands of other servers out there that they cannot take down. And so this kind of security model of the blockchain, where it's built in by default instead of just trying to protect the data with layer after layer, is so much better. And you get 100% uptime because there's thousands of servers on the internet that's protecting that data. Here's a really good example. IBM has been using the blockchain to secure food as it's being tracked through different sources. One of their big partners was Walmart, and they're tracking things like lettuce through the blockchain. And because they're using this technology, it's a really important way to track your food. And it's giving Walmart, the producers of the food, and a lot more visibility about their food. And the idea is eventually that IBM can take this so that the consumer can have more ideas about their food too. Another great example is Louis Vuitton. They've been making, they just started making a blockchain project so that they can use the blockchain to scan items. And again, I think this is a really great use case for Louis Vuitton, because you can basically take your phone and you can wave it over an item to find out, is this authentic or not? Can you imagine a young woman buying a Louis Vuitton purse, spending a lot of money on it, and then taking it to school only to have her friends tell her that Louis Vuitton was spelled incorrectly and she bought a counterfeit? Like, think of how much happier she would have been if she could have just scanned her phone, or scanned with her phone, that bag to find out it's real. And this is something that we at LuxTag have been doing actually longer than Louis Vuitton. We originally made it so that we secured handmade Swiss watches on the blockchain. And each watch got its own individual blockchain identity. Again, this is a part of the product citizenship idea. Instead of just one product that's very generic for everybody, now each product is unique. And look, it doesn't just have to be luxury goods. It can also be things like socks. And this might sound funny, but there's a company that takes a lot of pride in their socks. They make socks that for the special use cases for like athletics, really high quality, very expensive socks. And we were able to do a project with them where we secured those on the blockchain too. So anything where a company's taking pride in their product, they're going to be able to use the blockchain to help create better product citizenship. And one of the ways that we've done this in the past is we've used QR codes. Here's a really good example of how a sticker or a QR code is linked on this item. And one of the great things too is because each QR code can be unique. Each item can be linked to a unique blockchain asset. When that person scans that QR code, the company is getting analytics. The company's finding out one person in New York scanned, 2 people in LA scanned, 10 people in Tokyo scanned. That's really useful information for a company, and they can find out specifically even about which product that they're scanning for. When was that one made? What was the packaging like on that one? And they can start to experiment with different packaging and find out how do they get better consumer engagement. And then also they can test different information on the QR codes linked. What are consumers really looking for? What insights do they really want? What understanding about the products do they really want? So QR codes are a great technology, but NFC tags are even better because it's like a little computer. It's fantastic. And one person might think, how can it be like a little computer if you don't plug it in? Computers have to be plugged in. Well, as it turns out, a phone can actually make a little bit of wireless energy that it sends to the NFC tag. And that NFC tag actually has basically a little microchip that can process data, that can send unique information wirelessly through that energy back to the phone, even though it's not plugged in. So this is a next level technology, and this is one that we really like to see happen, and it's just wonderful. And again, customers are getting the ability to just wave their phone over the item, and our companies that are making these are getting great information, great connection back to the consumer, especially when the blockchain, because what is a blockchain doing? It's really just connecting different people. I send to that person sends to me. When we're using that blockchain, we have a good one-to-one medium where a consumer can contact the company that they've bought the item from. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
yep.
Jeff.
I'm going to
Yes.
pass this over to Rene, and he can talk a little bit about how companies can do it themselves.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for the introduction. Okay, so let's remember we are on the track for product citizenship for smart packaging. We learned about blockchain technology to secure unique assets and tagging options, in particular QR and NFC. So now we want to come to the part which is the juicy one, how to DIY this, how to actually use this for your own company, brand, products. Actually, it's more or less 4 steps. You need to set up the system whereby you set objective, choose the tools, and so on. But then comes, you need to apply these tags to the products. You need to have the right marketing message and make it obvious that there is a new code attached and people can interact with it. And number 4, you can then track, you can engage the consumers and generate analytics out of it. So set the objective. That is a differentiation between a static QR code for all of your products, for your brand, let's say, in contrast to the dynamic QR code, where every product is serialized. That means that every product, even though it is of the same batch, you produce 1,000 glasses of chocolate spread, still, these 1,000 glasses, every can be different from the other. And when you go to that granular level, we call it serialized products. Every product has its own serial number and could have its own QR code or NFC tag, which is different from the others. That allows a more granular analytics later. So next one is where we need to choose our tools. Choose the tools, which mainly is 2 tools needed here. A QR code generator. Let's talk about QR first, because that's what you can DIY. Hard for you to DIY the NFC, right? So second one is Google Analytics, or another competitor to that, for example, Mixpanel. In our demo, we will be walking through qrcodegenerator.com and Google Analytics. After deciding these tools, we need to decide what's the content we want to link. The content to link is what an end consumer would see when they engage with the tag. This can be videos, surveys, data sheets, recipes, instruction manuals, or just simply a web page with more product information or company information. Then we need to encode this information into the QR code, which is rather simple using online tools, which we will be showing you now. For example, this QR code generator website, it's qrcodegenerator.com. Behind this QR code, we encoded that URL. When you go to the website of QR code generator, you sign up for an account. You can sign up for a free account here. You use an email address, password, sign up, and then you have a dashboard where you create QR codes. So far, obviously, no active QR codes. In red color, you see in the corner 15 days free trial. Hopefully that's enough for you to just play with it. And if you want, it's a rather cheap, affordable solution. Okay, in our example, let us just create a QR code for a website, for a URL. So we link a QR code to the LuxTag homepage. We give this QR code a nickname, and then we add the URL into the website field. Click Next, and we come towards customization options. I would just like to mention an important point here is don't be too fancy and make sure that you have a right color contrast. A light color can't be on a light color background, right? You can't print light blue, which is maybe even a corporate color of LuxTag I would like to use, but light blue on a white doesn't give a good scanning efficiency, and it will be hard for end consumers to scan the codes. You can even add logos in. We'll show that to you here. For example, there's a very fancy one which we have created here. Looks much nicer than the simple standard one, and works rather well with a good contrast and the logo embedded in the middle. You can then customize color sets. For example, using other free available online tools. This website coolors.co allows you to choose a color of your liking, find out the color code, and then you can enter this color code into the QR code generator website to style your codes. You would then want to test the code before you apply it to your product packaging. But remember, this one now is a static code. One code leads everybody to the same website, and we would not be able to track back to the individual item. So this is not a serialized code. You print and apply these codes. Either it's you printing or your printing and packaging manufacturer company, and they need to make sure that the colors are okay and it's well printed. Actually, some printing houses want you to deliver them GIFs or JPEG files. Others ask for a CSV file where they then generate the QR codes out of a text string. You will need to define this with the printing house, but for small batches, you can actually fully DIY it with the printer in your office. This is an example now, a view of some static and some non-static, like the serialized codes. For example, we see for this Monster Insights, which we have done as a demo here, there's 0 scans. It counts the scans, and it is a serialized product code, whereby the next one is a static / non-trackable code, which is one code for one, let's say, brand or company. You can play around with this quite simply. Now, there are certain pricing plans for QR code generator if you wanted to use it long-term and for larger quantities. There is even another company we can recommend. Scanova is doing a QR batch creation where you can upload a large batch of even serialized product codes, as in serial number codes, which you might already have attached to your products. You upload and then it generates according QR codes. This is the green button with the QR batch generator. There's a pricing attached to it. You can look at that. And now comes, well, is it worth the cost and effort? How can I make my customers scan these codes? Because actually there must be an ROI, right? So the ROI of all the product citizenship, of all this smart packaging and attaching something to the product packaging, what is it? How can I make sure there comes some ROI? Most important is you must make it obvious. You must market the fact that now your packaging is smart. You must make it rewarding for the customer, not directly, literally, as in pay them money to scan the codes, but make it rewarding as see the latest recipe, become an ambassador of your brand, collect loyalty points, whatever it is applicable to your product range. Convert your buyers into friends. Make your customers become ambassadors. Up-level them and connect with them in the most modern way. Now it comes towards the tracking and analytics. You would want to track the scan engagements. You can track this on different levels, which is defined by how granular you apply these codes. If you had only one code, and this is the same QR code applied to a whole batch of products, then obviously you cannot really track every single item. But you can even do the serialization, but then need to attach codes which are different from each other onto every single item. As we mentioned earlier, an important point here is track by distribution region. You could, for example, define that these are the products for that particular market. This should be sold in Singapore. I am selling this batch of products in Singapore, and therefore they have a Singapore marketing QR code. And now we could then track back through tools like, for example, Google Analytics. Did these products really get scanned in Singapore, or were there some clever traders in between purchasing the items from that special campaign you did and ship it off to Vietnam? Can be, right? But now you could see it and know it. So Google Analytics is a free tool which you can use, and we show you here this walkthrough. Google Analytics shows you how many people scan an item. There are statistics, where do they come from, other background information in Google, which they know about the people who scan. Nice world map to see. You can really, down to the very granular level, analyze about every scanning activity, because it leaves a trace. The only thing what you need to do is you need to sign up. You need to add a certain tracking code to your landing website. This is the website where the QR code or NFC leads. Then you obviously create that QR code, and you can see it in the Google Analytics dashboard. Google Analytics has even a very nice mobile app. It can notify you, and you can see on your mobile phone whenever people anywhere in the world scan your codes. And luckily, it's even for free. So you can DIY quite a lot. you can go quite far with DIY solutions, but however, this is more recommendable for smaller scale of production and smaller variations. It is maybe not so applicable long term, and it brings some maintenance and operation cost. It's not really linked together automatically, and it has a complicated analytics application. This is why, and now we're coming to the last part of our webinar presentation here. This is why we at LuxTag are proud to introduce the BrandTag solution, which is a software as a solution package, putting all this, what we have shown you, product citizenship, smart packaging, QR, NFC, analytics, engagement, into one package. So it gives each product a unique ID that cannot be copied, allows brand owners to better engage with the customer after they engage with the product, enables design and content customization, easy through an interface which we provide, and it enhances the consumer's product experience, allows you to upsell and even convert shoppers into buyers. And obviously, you have this analytics data without needing to do any of the technical complications with Google Analytics and adding your HTML code into the landing pages which you link to. BrandTag works in the same way as I explained the DIY. It is about registering your products, printing and applying the codes, and consumers scan the code, and then they get information and they are engaged. More product information, and engage with your marketing campaigns. And there are further enhancements possible. You can even track along a distribution chain, partially automate with IoT. At this moment, we are building add-on modules for BrandTag to track the temperature of items passing through a distribution chain. And this is very interesting for end consumers to know that their food products never became too hot or too cold. Or it's important for this vaccine tracking at the moment, when some vaccines require a certain temperature. So this is some add-on features for BrandTag, which are either already out or coming very soon. And BrandTag actually is a solution where it is another level of DIY. You as an entrepreneur, you DIY everything in one software as a solution package. Let me show you this one here. So we have an entrepreneur here, struggling to engage with consumers and knowing where their products go. So this entrepreneur lady signs up for the BrandTag suite quite simply through the web interface, using the email address, set up a password, register, and afterwards, when registration done, you need to enter some more information about your company, because we want to make sure that you are real. As we are supporting real product authenticity, we will verify that your company is really registered. That's why we ask for an upload of a business registration certificate. After you did the business registration, we will ask you to register your brand, as in a trademark. Here in this example, we are using a famous known brand we are not affiliated with. It's just for demo purposes. And we will be then creating under this brand SKUs. SKUs is a product model. A product, for example, the 330 milliliters can of an item. And this one now is, we can add extra description into it, upload a picture. And under this one product, we can then generate individual codes. The code generation means that we create serialization codes looking like this. This is the codes which we can then give to a printing company. The printing company will attach these individual codes one by one to individual products. This can be done by laser engraving, by printing and gluing, various possibilities. After this is done, you would then have an activation part where the codes get activated. Activation means that the product passed your QC and is out for shipping, and you can customize the view which end consumers will see when they scan the code. For example, yay, it's an original. And activated codes can now be scanned by end consumers, and the business owner will be able to see the information, engage with the, have engagement between the entrepreneur and the end consumer. You see here how we illustrate an end consumer scanning the product, and it opens inside the mobile web browser on the phone of the end consumer, the page which we had customized earlier. This then is the results in a happy entrepreneur and a happy customer. Isn't that nice? Okay, so that's this BrandTag solution, which we are soft launching these days, and we are inviting everybody to try out, to please have a free trial on this solution and give us your feedback, and perhaps even compare between the DIY solutions which are out there and our solution, whether it's worth your while or you think, never mind, I can go fully DIY. So thank you so much for listening to this one. I think, Iman, back to you.
Thank you, Rene and Jeff, for the great explanation. It was very nice. So now we move on to the Q&A session. There's a couple of questions. So someone asked, do you have to pay to use blockchain? Can one of you answer, please?
Yes, so it depends on what kind of service our customer has at LuxTag, and if it's the public chain, we have different options. Of course, on a public chain, transaction fees have to be made, and these can either be offset by the company that's making the brand tag, or it can be offset to the consumers that are doing transactions when they interact with or update or do something with their brand tag. Now, when it comes to a private chain, in the case that a company wants to make a private chain and interact with the blockchain, then of course, depending on how the private chain has been set up, transactions can actually be free. But whether it's on a public chain and it's done transaction by transaction, or somebody sets up the infrastructure on a private chain, at some point, somebody has to pay to have those servers done. And again, with the public blockchain system, there's 1,000 or 10,000 servers out there, and those people that are running those servers get compensated via transaction fees. But with a private chain, whoever has set up the servers in the first place, which is usually a private company or a consortium of many different companies, are covering the costs for interacting with the blockchain.
Okay, hope this answered your question. Another one is, what if my brand is still under application process? Can I use BrandTag? Rene, please, can you answer this?
Can you please repeat that question?
What if my brand is still under application process? Can I use BrandTag?
Yes, you can. You just need to make a case for that. We will need your business registration documents, and to make a case that this brand is under application. We might then jointly even decide that this is shown to the end consumers, that this brand is pending. Yeah, it is possible to do that. No problem.
Another question, how long is the free trial of the BrandTag before we subscribe to it?
That's an easy one. Okay, we give 1 month of a free trial to try it out, and even afterwards the pricing is very reasonable, so don't worry.
Yeah, that leads us to the second question, how much does it cost?
Okay, we'll be releasing the price list for the basic package in the next days. It will be available on our website, but we are looking at a subscription cost, which includes a certain number of product codes per month or per year, which will be competing with the things, with the pricings I had shown in the DIY section. So I keep that tension up a little bit. Please check on the website in these days. We are putting that online just these days. We are soft launching right now.
Okay, so also just to mention that those who attended this webinar will have kind of bonuses. I'm going to email you later. The free trial will be maybe be even longer than the usual one. Another question is, how do you guys envision the future in terms of product citizenship? How could the world look like in the next 5-10 years?
That's a really great question, Anna, and it kind of goes back to the point of what I was saying before, that I imagine a world once in 10 years, once people have started to get used to being able to scan their item and directly interact with the company, and directly find out information about that specific product and that specific project package. Once they get used to that level of service, they don't want to go back to something else. And this causes pressure and competition for other people that aren't doing it. It makes their products look inferior. So, any company that's taking a lot of pride, that's really confident in their product, I think this is a really good fit for them to help distinguish and make them stand out and be an outlier when everybody else is normal. They're a little bit more special. And like I said, I have a special advantage because I've already been using this technology that we developed at LuxTag for many years. And so I'm already very comfortable with the user experience. I already know what it's like. And it's already a little frustrating for me, myself, when I go to the store. And every time I see something, I think, should have BrandTag, should have LuxTag. It would be a better product, right? And I think Rene and I agree on this. We both started in blockchain more than 8 years ago. And at the time when we started in more than 8 years ago, we were trying to tell people about how wonderful we thought blockchain technology is. And a lot of people thought that we were dismissed by a lot of people. And I'm hoping now that we've built up our credit when we talk about BrandTag and LuxTag and the things that we can do to make product citizenships, that people are more willing to listen to us and understand about this future that we're talking about. So I think it's going to be big in 10 years. I can't imagine why people wouldn't want to be able to scan their package and know a lot of information about it. Thank you.
There's another question. How can this be used in government services?
So, with governments, there's eventually going to be, and it might be more than 5 or 10 years, but I really imagine that eventually everything, I know it sounds a little bit weird, but I imagine that originally everything gets expanded and put on to a blockchain. And right now we're talking about, a watch or a phone or a piece of jewelry or a custom made pencil or pen or something like that having a brand tag, or food having a brand tag. But when it comes to government, I certainly imagine that we're going to see vaccine passports with coronavirus. We're going to see Social Security cards. We're going to see voting registration cards. And all of these are a little bit like a brand tag in a way. Instead of, having something that you buy in a store, a little card basically gets a very similar technology to what we're doing at BrandTag. And the really important thing when it comes to governments, and this is something that we've been researching at LuxTag, is to make sure that you're protecting the person's anonymity and privacy, because that's the most important thing when we're talking about government using technology like BrandTag, because we don't actually want the government tracking how many times your driver's license was scanned, or whenever you bought this or went there. We want to make it sure that it's done. And the good news is, with blockchain combined with another technology called zero knowledge proofs, that becomes possible to do. And I know it sounds a little strange. How can you use a blockchain for something that is, 1,000 servers all over the world store all the information, and everything's completely transparent, but also make things completely anonymous to protect the privacy and rights of the people? But it's coming. Might not be here in 5 years. I mean, simple proof of concepts are here today, but I'm really excited to see governments adopt that technology.
Let me add one point in here, please. Pharmaceutical IDs, pharmaceutical products drugs registrations. That is something where we see already, obviously, the national pharmaceutical registration agencies putting holographic stickers, some serial numbers on the items, in combination with something we are providing that can be brought to a completely different level.
Yeah, and just to add on that too, when we talk about governments being certified, certifying pharmaceuticals, they're not just certifying pharmaceuticals, they're certifying doctors, they're certifying pharmacists, they're certifying lawyers, they're certifying taxi cab drivers, they're certifying waiters and waitresses to make sure that they know how to do food safety. And when you expand this idea about BrandTag, it's an interesting idea. You know, you go to your doctor's office and the diploma is hanging on the wall saying that this person's a certified doctor or that they're a licensed lawyer. But while you're waiting in the office, being able to scan that diploma to make sure that it has a brand tag associated with it, to make sure that that lawyer is really a licensed lawyer, and you can scan that piece of paper that's hanging on the wall. I think that that's a really interesting use case to show that it's a verified data point and that has been brand tagged to be authentic.
Okay, there is also another question. Can this technology be used to buy products online, for example, from e-commerce platforms?
So I think there's two aspects to this. One, when it's about the authenticity check and the consumer engagement, definitely yes, can be used, because we have been even providing the services, as Jeff mentioned, to some industrial customers. He talked about luxury watches or even sports apparel, these bicycle racing socks, things like that, which went through e-commerce channels. And then the brand and manufacturer can connect with the end consumers of these products, and even though they were sold through e-commerce platforms, they still can connect, skipping all the steps in the middle. The brand can talk to the end consumer. And now when we look at e-commerce sales, there's not a problem to connect with this one. We can even put the e-commerce vendor as one touch point in the middle to create added data to this data set, which platform it went through, and further analytics. But now coming into the next level would be when we link payments for e-commerce purchased goods directly to the ownership of the item. That is something which today's e-commerce platforms are not ready for yet. But that is something, we had the question earlier about the future, 5 years, 10 years to come.
Mm-hmm.
We will have transfers of ownership of products which you purchase online linked to the payment in digital currencies, like a swap of ownership against payment, which eliminates the risks of does this person give it to me, or does that person sell, does that person pay me, right? These escrow middleman issues can be resolved with blockchain technology and with the tagging as we propose.
Okay, so please, if anyone still have any question, do send them now. While waiting for that, I just want to ask too. So for example, is halal traceability can be considered like a government service, like using BrandTag or LuxTag solution?
If in some countries the government takes it on them to ensure halal certifications, this can be considered as a work for governments. Yes, you're right, Iman. That was something over here in Malaysia. We had this halal meat scandal where items were actually marked as halal and clean and good for consumption and slaughtered under Islamic principles, but then it was actually all a big fraud. There were some fraudsters in the middle, and now they are actually being brought to court over here in Malaysia. Luckily, some of them got caught. But so people believe in a possibly government-issued sticker on a product, because the government is very trusted, so I trust that sticker. But then there are still things which can be improved in these processes, and possibly through using blockchain technology tagging like BrandTag solution, we can improve these processes and improve the confidence and the authenticity in the belief in products. Yes.
I don't think there is any more questions. Is there anything, Rene, Jeff, you want to add before we end this session?
I'm super happy that everybody came to listen. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to visit our website at luxtag.io or reach out to us on our Telegram group.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you. Yes.
Yeah, and also you can reach out to me by email. I'll reply accordingly. So I guess this brings us to an end. Thank you all for taking the time and joining us today. I hope this was a good learning experience for you and useful. So thank you and have a nice day. Until our next webinar.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.